And if you see here, stress as I described, it's a universal thing for everybody, irrespective of the age group, depending on their, whether it is the income level or depending on their profession, day in and day out, they undergo this stress. And you can see here, it is a common determinant for all these things. Because cardiovascular events, obesity, hypertension, diabetes, these are the non-communicable diseases which are the burning issues in the world, which cause damage to the problems and which can damage to the human body, and they have a lot of morbidity and mortality. So this stress, which is very important, which can cause these different problems, and it's definitely proven most of the times. So as I told you, can anybody define stress? I think it's very difficult to define stress. So there is no specific term like this is the definition of stress, this or the stress will be there. So it's very difficult, and it's difficult to quantify or tell this is the amount of stress that is I'm having. So it's not easy, and even the studies are very less where they try to demonstrate that stress is important and it is causing some hypertension in different trials that I have done or studies that they have done. So factors leading to stress, definitely at job place, at family level. Of course, this is very important nowadays. Roads, a lot of traffic jams are there. Traffic is huge enough where it can also lead to stress. If you just see, these are all my own slides, but I didn't take it from anything else. Whatever I felt, I have written. Maybe I have some any changes. I think I agree for that. Family level, repeated arguments and discussion with family members, either spouse, children, whatever. Multitasking women, nowadays women, they are not doing a single job. They have to maintain children, family. They have to do a job from morning to evening. They are tired, and probably that is also important reason. Financial matters, EMIs. I think everybody take insurance for loan, whatever it is, for the two-wheeler, for whatever house, whatever it is, and that stress, children stress, whether they are studying well, they are going somewhere, we have to make them work hard, and of course we have our own goals and targets to reach, which is not that easy. And of course at workplace, we have some, because especially some people, they have own the targets and goals, and then nighttime jobs. Nowadays, everybody, most of them, they are into nighttime jobs, which can cause tremendous amount of stress, because the night wake cycle alters and they have different problems apart from just stress. And then the fear of superiors and envy among colleagues. All these things, I feel, one of the important things which can produce stress at workplace. And the most common thing most of us do to cope stress is we usually try to go towards these things like smoking. So they say that by smoking I'll reduce my stress, and by drinking alcohol I'll reduce my stress. By overeating, like they feel uneasy, they'll feel fatigue, they go and have food, they feel more hungry, because stress itself has a lot of effects on the body. It can be just hunger, excess hunger, or some palpitation, heart beating fast, they feel some giddiness, they feel sweating. All these kinds of things make them to overeat and have unhealthy food habits, especially in the weekends where they can have this. I think most of us will try to go into these type of things which make us more prone for heart problems, more prone for brain stroke, more prone for kidney problems in the future. I think this has to be clearly cut down, it has to be stopped. So probably what we have to see is how to cope stress. I think the chill pill is a better answer, where you have to see in a different way, in a positive way, and not try to go into these things. I think most of us, more than 90% or 80%, I cannot just say percentage, that can be a problem for most of us in the future. So definitely over a period of time, all these things, they cause psychological problems, kidney problems, stroke, heart problems, and BP over a period of time. So just we'll try to see, is there any relation, as per the evidence I'm trying to talk, like studies, anything are there, relation between hypertension and stress? Yes, it is there, definitely. But according to me, the classification, what I usually see is, what is the stress effect on the body? Broadly we can say it short-term effects. Suppose suddenly, if the work is not and suddenly I may become angry, or somebody may become angry, definitely the stress will increase. That is called a short-term effect. Whereas that usually leads to increase in the hormones in the blood, because to the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. So which leads to increase in the adrenaline and cortisol levels. They in turn, they increase the pulse rate, they increase the heart contractility or heart pumping, they try to constrict the blood vessels. These are all the short-term effects. So these short-term effects will not cause a long-term problem related to hypertension or heart-related diseases. I'll just give a pictorial this thing. Because sudden stress, flight and fight mechanism, the signals from the hypothalamus is in the brain. So usually it secretes different hormones. From there, it is the adrenal gland where this cortisol will be released, and then this is the adrenal gland. Again from the adrenal gland, both cortisol and adrenaline will be released. They in turn increase the blood pressure and hypertension and heart rate, and increasing the blood sugars as well. And we are trying to talk here only stress and hypertension. I am not talking about other diabetes, other things. And this, of course, we have to see what are the ways of managing it. Repeated stress is more dangerous. So repeated stress is more dangerous. They may cause hypertension, other related heart problems or kidney related problems over a period of time. And of course, long-term stress definitely is a serious problem. And they have seen good number of studies, even in normal people, only with stress, they are going to have some problem in the future, either in the form of hypertension or other heart related problems. I think this, we usually undergo these stuff. There is no stress, only one moment we will try to go. This is a repeated stress, long-term stress, definitely we usually undergo. I think this is more common, and this is relevant, and they have a strong association with the problem of hypertension over a period of time. As just shown you, this is the effect on the heart, where you have different nerves which try to increase the heart contractility. So definitely the short-term effects, no effect on the heart and brain kidneys, but this is only few percentage of people have only short-term, their stress which is only for a moment or so. But the repeated long-term stresses, they have shown that definitely it is going to increase the heart, hypertension and other related cardiac problems. And the interesting thing about this slide, if you see here, what are the symptoms of hypertension? The answer is no, there are no specific symptoms for hypertension. That is the commonest method of presentation. That means you have to get checked it. Either you have to check it or you have to go somewhere and try to see into that. Because most of the symptoms, they are not there with the hypertension. It's a silent killer, just like diabetes and other things. So only few percentage they have hypertension. Even if they have, for example, so many patients, they come and say they have some headache, that's why it checks the BP, or I have some giddiness, check the BP, it's fine. But most of these symptoms, that doesn't have any correlation with the hypertension. That means there are 110 people, 100 people, they have giddiness. It doesn't mean that 100 people will have hypertension. Suppose 100 people, they have headache. Headache is so common. 100 people not have, suppose 100 people have headache, that doesn't mean that 100 people have hypertension. So that means the symptoms of hypertension are not there. And even if they have, they do not directly correlate with the hypertension. So try to check it out. What is the best way is to check the blood pressure. There is no other way out. So how do you check the blood pressure? You should not do all these things. Tea, coffee or some exercise, or try to do all these things before you check the blood pressure, treadmill, doing all these type of things. And of course, procedure, I think sitting posture you have to see, and you have to avoid errors. It should be at the heart level. And as I told you, single measurement is not sufficient. Blood pressure, you cannot just say, you have seen 140 by 90, 150, 100, first time, only one reading. No, that is not a true blood pressure unless it's very high. So it should be serial readings as per the WHO this thing, and it should be twice daily. And of course, the latest is ambulatory BP monitoring. Whenever any patient or person has fluctuating blood pressures, the best way to diagnose blood pressure is ambulatory BP monitoring. That means the machine will be attached to the body, it will be there for 24 hours, and different activities will be recorded, and the blood pressure is recorded for 24 hours, which is the ideal way of doing it. It has to be done on mass campaign, but it's difficult for everybody to get these things. So anybody who has a high index of this thing, suspicion of having blood pressure with multiple readings, probably I think ambulatory BP monitoring is more important. And coming to the ending of these slides, always prevention is always the better. That is the best way. Just that you cannot replace that with anything else. Having good lifestyle, as I told you, regular diet, low salt. Salt, I'll just give some important tips next next slide. Exercise, of course, 30 to 45 minutes. Reduce stress, of course, you have to make it in a proper way. And identifying risk factors, especially family histories there, or stressful life, sedentary lifestyle, obese patient, obese person. These people, they can identify these things, and of course, patient education is the cornerstone of any hypertension management. Next thing is the early detection. So this is very, very important. That's what we are trying to see here. Early detection of blood pressure, regular BP check, engage, because most of the studies, they say more than 25 years, 40% of the patients are into hypertension, more than 25 years of age. So we have to start probably at 20 years of age, the checking of blood pressure. So which can identify most of these people who are who are into this hypertension. And health checks, as we are conducting regular health checks, where we can see by monitoring and doing further other investigation or tests, we can try to assess it. Organizing wellness camps, as we are doing it right now. I think this is the most effective method of doing it. I think this will be continued. And patient education, as you are aware of, that is also very important. And regarding the treatment aspect, is broadly into two categories. One is lifestyle modification. I think my colleague will be discussing about this lifestyle management and hypertension. And then medications. Once the person is diagnosed with hypertension, he has to be kept on the medication almost for lifelong. So that's why we should be very careful, try to avoid as early as, and try to detect it as early as possible and try to identify it. As I told you, stop smoking, drinking excess alcohol is not good, and then physical activity is very important, which definitely reduce the blood pressure, or if you don't have blood pressure, probably it will reduce the occurring of this blood pressure in the future. A small few points about salt. Usually, as per the WHO, this thing, what they say is, average intake of salt by an individual is 9 to 12 grams per day. So WHO recommends less than 2 grams of sodium or 5 grams of salt per day. This is scientifically proven. It is not just a word. Salt taggindi ante just taggedam kaadu. There is a scientific evidence behind that. There are so many studies which have shown and proven that salt reduction will definitely reduce the hypertension in the future. That is very clear. And I think even recently GHMC and all this, I think they have removed the panels now. They are also promoting salt reduction is important. High sodium content, especially high sodium content foods, meats, popcorn. Whenever we go to theaters, we'll have a basket full of popcorn. We try to enjoy eating, and not only we ourselves eat, we try to give to the other people also. So I think it contains excess of salt, meat, all these processed things, they have a higher amount of salt, which can definitely be damaging. There is no doubt about this. And then potassium rich foods, like especially bananas or some rich nuts, almonds, they have high potassium content, which is which will have a beneficial effect on the blood pressure. So these are all come under lifestyle modification. So definitely high potassium rich foods, fruits or whatever it is, they have a protection at this for the hypertension. At the community level, awareness camps as we are doing, and as per their WHO, this thing also, wellness camps are the most effective way of, one of the most effective ways of identifying the BP patients or trying to educate them with these people. Of course, we have to cater the community, families and individuals about all these things. Healthy diet, promoting healthy lifestyle, like regular physical activity, half an hour to 45 minutes, and then reducing salt, and then trying to reduce the intake of alcohol, and eating 5 servings of fruits and vegetables. I don't think most of us are eating 5, even including me also. So I think we have to modify. For eating 5 servings of fruits and vegetables, of course reducing saturated fats and total fat. This is very important. 30 minutes a day is the minimum, 45 minutes to 1 hour depending on the capacity. But before, have a checkup, if any heart related issues are there, and try to proceed further. Motivate and get motivated is very important. Avoid excess alcohol. Not only you can tell the friends alcohol is not good, especially the higher levels of alcohol is harmful to the body. Do regular physical activity. Of course, don't smoke in public places and even at the individual level. And proper stress management. You can try to talk with a psychologist or some other good people who can try to de-stress yourself. And according to this, some of the points is try to prioritize the work, how to reduce the stress. Not very classical way of doing it, but at least few points. Proper planning, avoiding multiple tasks in a day, stop comparisons, have proper sleep, meditation, yoga, relaxation in between work. All these things probably reduce stress, and you can plan accordingly. I think these are all different ways of doing it. This breathing exercise, of course, definitely useful, and I think this should have a freeness from hypertension and other disorders, and try to enjoy this thing, or whenever you have a time, try to be more free and try to relax on your own and try to be away from all these things. And conclusions, the final slide. Definitely hypertension and stress are compounding because they are trying to multiply the future problems, especially heart, brain and kidney related, which are going to be there for lifelong. And then both are interlinked definitely, especially repeated stress and long stress and or chronic stress. And then we ourselves make more unhealthy by trying to, when we are trying to cope with the stress. And then hypertension is a silent killer. Hypertension along with other metabolic risk factors can cause life-threatening diseases, I have just told you. And salt reduction is very effective. There is a good scientific evidence for it. And then wellness programs at workplace, there are very effective methods of identifying or trying to preventing or identifying or detecting early of hypertension. I think let's balance the life for better health. Balancing is the key to life. I hope everybody will try to understand this. And I thank you very much for giving me this opportunity and for patient listening. Thank you.